Well, hello there, and welcome once again to another edition of Johnny Davis Live here. Hey, I wanted to try to do that tribute and everything to Argent Rex, and I'll be honest with you, it kind of was a last minute thing for me, of course, but I was trying to put it together. There was some other little technicalities in there, but you know what? We're back, and we're going to start this show completely over with Mr. Jerry Golden Boy Trimble there. He's there waiting and ready to go, and all. So I want to make sure that we have this because what we do, we upload on our YouTube channel as well, which is Johnny Davis Live on YouTube. And also, we want to make sure we have a good shot at this. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again, none other than the one and the only former PKA World Champion, Jerry Golden Boy Trimble.
Thank you, Johnny, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Johnny.
Thanks so much for coming on today, and thanks for your patience. And getting everything going. I want you to again start back over. It was such a great story about how you started in the martial arts.
Okay, I was bullied as a kid, 13 years old. I humiliated, embarrassed constantly. It went on for a few years, 3 or 4 years, and it got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. I ran away from home, 13 years old.
Wow.
And contemplated suicide. I was in a dark place. As I was, running away from home, which was kind of a new thing for me, the movie theater saved my life. And at the movie theater was 2 movies, Planet of the Apes and Chinese Connection. And guess which one I chose? Chinese Connection with Bruce Lee.
Do you not think you would have played a good ape?
Let me tell you something, man. When Bruce Lee jumped onto the screen, something sparked in me that I never felt before. And instead of running away, I go home and I ask my dad, I'm like, hey, Dad, I just saw this guy. He was doing karate, kung fu. I don't know. Hey, can I join karate? He looked at me and he said, hell no. He's like, you quit at everything you start.
Right.
That spark, man, was already lit. So I go to the magazine store and I bought all these magazines. I bought every karate magazine they had.
Wow.
I brought them home and I put them all over the floor and I started just practicing and just practicing. And this went on for a couple of months. And then when I turned 14, my parents enrolled me into a Taekwondo school. I started studying under Richard Hamilton with the American Taekwondo Association.
Right.
I trained 6 days a week, man. I put my all into it. And I'd walk 2 miles to the school and my dad would pick me up after class at night. And I did it 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, every day. And I started setting goals and I learned how to set goals and I learned how to believe in myself. And you
know what, Jerry, I want to talk a little bit about the Bruce Lee thing. Let me tell you something. I was that same kid.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny, man?
And I went to the movie and it was like, oh my God, look at this guy. He's doing all of these awesome tricks and all these and I was like, oh, that's amazing. I want to be just like him.
Yep, that's it. I'm telling you, man. He had a charisma. He had something. He had it, man. He had what I wanted. He had everything I wanted. And
you know what? But the thing about Bruce Lee is that he also talked about being your best.
Yep. Right? Being your best, being your true, authentic self.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Right. And so, I mean, I was one that just like I walked around in kung fu suits. You would see me on the street and I'll be walking around in a kung fu suit at any time. Hey, if he did nunchucks, I was doing nunchucks.
Exactly, man.
Whatever he did, I did it. I did it too. And everything. So you got that bug. For martial arts, and then you eventually joined the club.
The Taekwondo school, and then I started competing in tournaments. I saw that, hey, wow, this is kind of cool,
Right.
And so I started winning trophies, became one of the top junior fighters in the States. And then I saw Richard Jackson and Tony Rosser fight, or Richard Jackson and Howard Jackson fight on ESPN, and I thought, I could beat these guys, I think, and I could be good at that.
Yeah.
And I started training boxing under Terry O'Brien in Kentucky, and I fought my first kickboxing match was for the Kentucky State title here in Kentucky. TKO'd the guy in the 4th round.
Wow.
And after that, I went, man, I want to do this. I want to go all the way with this. And then after I graduated high school, boom, within probably 2 months, I told my mom and dad, I said, I'm going to go to Atlanta, Georgia, because my instructor, Richard Hamilton, had opened up a school there and said, listen, we use another instructor and you can fight. I can introduce you to Joe Corley. He's a promoter, and Asa Gordon, big trainer. And I'm like, hell yeah. And I'm 18 years old, man. And I'm like, wow, this is cool.
Right,
So
right.
so I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and started fighting in some of the Joe Corley smokers, those little basement fights, man. Whoa,
Yeah, yeah.
those were cool.
I know, I know. Well, you talk about Joe Corley, and we had you on for a special guest
Yeah,
to talk a little bit about Joe Corley. But for some
yeah,
of those people who didn't hear
yeah,
some of those things you had to say about Mr. Joe Corley, because
yeah.
he was kind of the leading face, if you will, at that time for PKA, would you say?
Yes, he was the leading face. He was the Dana White back in the day, man.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. He was. I mean, a lot of responsible for me and my success in the martial arts. The fights he promoted all the time. Unfortunately, this wasn't a lot of money back in the day,
Right,
but yeah,
right.
but he was way ahead of his time. I think Joe was.
Well, you talked about Joe, and
Yeah,
I didn't say anything when I had
yeah.
you on the show on the last time, but I kind of got the impression that you guys had a little beef, or
You think?
either you guys went to war a couple of times. I mean,
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's we batted heads quite a few times, and I was young, and man, I was like full of piss and vinegar, and
right,
I had a lot of anger in me,
right,
and I wasn't always the easiest guy to get along with. I'll admit that, but yeah, we didn't get along at certain times. I thought, hey, I needed more money than that, or hey,
right.
yeah, but. Looking back at it now, it was just, I mean, I love you, Joe.
Right. Well, you
But
said,
yeah,
but here's what it is. When you talk about that, you said you were pissing vinegar, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
even in your fight days, what I
yeah,
noticed about you, you had a serious edge on you.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
if you look at your video clip, all right, the guy went down and you tried to stomp him in the face.
yeah.
So what is it? What was it about you that fighting that you were so attracted to fighting? Was it something that you were trying to get out?
I
Was it
think it
something?
was.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it was. There was a lot of anger issues in me. There, if let me, man, if I wasn't fighting in the ring and I wasn't in training for a fight, I was out in the nightclubs and I was fighting in the nightclubs.
ah,
I wouldn't take any crap, any shit from no one.
right,
And man, I was like, no. And there was a lot of anger in me. I mean,
right,
thank God it's not there anymore. But yeah, I was. Yeah, in the ring, it was I had to get something out, and
yeah.
it was if someone that's what when I'd fight, I drop my hands a lot, and I get hit, and I remember Joe Corley as a commentator, he's like Trimble. The other guy would go, "Oh, Trimble's got his hands down," and Joe Corley says, "Well, when he gets hit, that's when he gets angry, and that's when he goes off." And it was so that's what happened. When I get hit, it would piss me off.
Somebody was on the first attempt at the show there. They were asking about how you got your name, the Golden Boy.
I went to Daytona Beach, Florida,
Hmm.
and there's a picture that I post all the time. It's got kicking a side kick straight up in the air, and we were in
Yeah.
Daytona Beach, and I was really tan. And I come downstairs to the gym at Joe Corley's smoker, the basement where Asa trains
Right.
people, and I come downstairs and Asa Gordon's like, "Look at the Golden Boy," and I
Ah.
went, "No!" Somebody yelled, "Look at the Golden Boy!" And because I had my gold chains and everything on. And Asa goes, "That is your new name. You are now Jerry the Golden Boy Trimble." And I went, "Asa, I like it,
I
man.
like it.
I like it, man." Yeah, I mean,
Well,
but it was great.
well,
Yeah,
well, that's awesome. But also, I look at that kick. Can you see that kick on the screen?
yes, sir. Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, I know.
That is just crazy. I mean, when
Yeah,
you talk about the talent and the skill, do you know how much that takes? I mean, well, of course you know, but give us a quick idea. You said you were training like 6 days a week.
6 days a
What
week,
kind
yes,
of
sir.
stretching were you doing to get that kind of kick?
I was stretching every day, and I wasn't limber. I wasn't limber in the beginning, but I stretched and I stretched every single day, and we did wall stretches, and those are the best stretches ever.
Yes.
You know, standing against the wall, somebody's
And let a
pushing
guy,
buttons.
yeah, push your leg, right, right.
Yes, those are the stretches, man. Those are the best stretches to get your flexibility up to do, because that's what you're stretching to be able to do that.
Right,
And
right.
we would do leg strength training drills and pick our leg up and, you know, and extend it out and bang and pop it out when you'd hold it out. And so it's not only that you have to be flexible, but you have to be you have to, you know, have the strength in your legs.
Right.
But and when we were doing kicking drills and stuff, oh man, we would do, I mean, literally thousands of kicks a night, because we would time them.
Right.
We'd say, okay, let's do, you know, 6, 7 kicking rounds. And I was averaging in a 3-minute round, I was averaging between 450 and 550 kicks in 3 minutes.
Wow.
It was like bang, 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 bang,
Yeah.
bang, bang,
Yeah.
bang. And we were just over and over. So it was a combination of all the drills, but it was relentless. It was every day. But I had a goal.
Right.
My goal was to become fastest kicker in the world, and I was like, I'm gonna do this.
I think you darn near did it too.
Man,
you know, I want to do a little interaction here with some of our guests who are watching today.
Very cool.
Steve Gross, there's asking a question. He said, I saw you in '86 in Karate Mania. Could you speak on your fight with the Taylor brothers?
The Taylor brothers. Welcome, Steve Gross. Thanks for watching, brother man, and hey, Chicago.
Right.
Well, you know, it's funny because Taylor, and I love Leroy Taylor, man. We're friends now. We're buds.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. He's a good man. I couldn't get a fight with him, and I don't, you know, ducking whatever, I don't know, but he just wouldn't fight me. And we went on, we trying, and I had a promoter, Jim Abernathy.
Yeah.
You know, he comes over, he's like smoking a cigar. And I go to his house, and he's like, Golden boy, I like what I see. He goes, I know the world champion won't fight you. He goes, but I got a plan.
Right.
He goes, oh, I got a plan. I'm going to take you to, I'm going to get you the world title. And then after that, I'm going to take you to Hollywood, put you in movies. All you got to do is sign here. Signed the contract, got a brand new car with it. Guess what color it was? Gold.
Wow.
And then after that, he said, the world champion has a brother. I guess him and Joe Corley kind of collaborated on it.
Right.
They said Leroy Taylor's got a brother. His name's John Taylor.
Right.
He goes, you fight John. Boom. You beat John, and next thing you know, he's got to challenge me. So I beat John. I TKO'd him in the 6th round. Couldn't come out the 7th round, and Leroy Taylor jumps in the ring and goes, I want you. And I looked at my camp. I looked at Ace and Abernathy, and I'm like, yes. And yeah, but I have the utmost respect for both guys, John Taylor and Leroy Taylor. Yes.
Right. So, who ultimately was your toughest fight in your career?
Toughest fight, man. The toughest guy I ever fought, I think the toughest guy was probably a guy named Darren Malone. Darren Malone. He was a. I don't think he really became ranked or anything. I hit this guy with everything but the kitchen sink. Spinning wheel kick, spinning hook kicks to the head. He wouldn't go down.
Right.
The toughest fight I ever had? Man, I don't know. The toughest fight, where I went, oh man, this is really tough. I don't know. Going into the fight, I think the toughest mentally for me, where I was the most fearful, was probably going in there, weird as it is, against Tony Rosser. And that was my best fight ever. Right. I had only trained. I had some personal issues that I was dealing with, and I had this fight scheduled because I had fought a boxing match. Man. We fought 4 rounds to a draw, and we stood in there and we just beat the hell out of each other.
Right.
That was, you know what? I know Joe Corley's not going to like hearing this. I love you, Joe. You know, that was probably one of the toughest fights I ever had, was the boxing match. Wow. Because we slugged it out for 4 rounds. Nobody backed off. Literally, it was like, you know, one of those Gotti fights, just bam, 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 bam.
Right.
And then after that, I come back and I'm like, you know what? This was a lot tougher than kickboxing. And the promoters, Joe and them, didn't like it. So they put an article in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution saying Trimble suffers from attack of foot in the mouth. And Anyway, then they put Rosser up against me to shut me up and to make me realize that kickboxing is tougher. And I had trained 2 weeks, and I let my faith be stronger than my fears. And I went into that fight fearless, but going into it was the most where I went, oh my God, I can't do this. I told my uncle, I said, I can't do this. I can't fight this guy. I said, I said, man, I got 2 weeks. I haven't been training.
Right.
I said, I got too much. I had a school. It was just, man, it was like chaos.
Right.
But mentally but until I walked into the ring, when I walked into that ring, man, something clicked in me. Whoa. And I was like, thank you, God.
Right.
I let my faith be stronger than my fears. And with 2 weeks of training, it was the best fight of my entire life.
Right. That's a beautiful fight on the clips where you are doing the spinning heel kick. I mean, you just couldn't miss with the spinning heel kick. That was beautiful.
I know, it was weird, man. It's weird. That's the power of the mind.
Right.
You know, the power of the mind, man.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that clip, did I hear Joe Rogan say something about you?
Yeah, John Hackleman. Oh, I was grateful. John Hackleman, who I never met before. We've talked, and I met him recently, but John Hackleman had never met me before, and he thought that my highlights reel was the best reel on YouTube. So he was on the Joe Rogan show. You know, John Hackleman, who trains Chuck Liddell.
Yes.
So John was telling Joe Rogan that he was telling him that, you know, I had the best fight reel and on YouTube. So Joe brought it up, and I met Joe a couple of times, and we knew each other. And yeah, man, he brought it up and said, and was like, and he kept saying, which is cool because he kept plugging me. He goes, that Jerry Trimble's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, I know, right?
Jerry Trimble's a bad. He kept saying it, and I'm like, and then people are coming up to me going, man, he kept saying your name over and over, which is, I was grateful for that. So
well, sure. You know, he's done a good job. He's a pretty good martial artist himself.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's a bad.
Yeah. I really didn't know that much about him, but he's a pretty good martial artist himself and everything. But what I'm trying to figure out, you had a great fight career. Were you undefeated?
No, I was 29-2-2.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's talk about at least one of those losses.
You know what?
Hey, Jerry, I talk about my losses, right? When I got knocked out my last fight, right?
Hey, brother, no ego here. I'll talk about it. Yeah. The first fight, you know, that side kick that you saw.
Yeah.
I would see when I went, man, I did some things, stupid stuff. You know, I mean, I'm being transparent here. You know,
well, we want you to be.
Yeah, I'm being honest. You know, I went to Daytona Beach, and I was fighting for I was fighting the Florida state champion, Gary Garner. And you know, my buddy's like, come on, man, let's go and I'm like, no, man, so I gave in and I went to Florida and I partied, came back. I had like, I think 3 weeks training, and I trained and I fought Gary Garner. That was my first loss. And you know what? He didn't beat me. I just beat myself because I psyched myself out. And if you watch the fight, it was a boring fight, but he kept front kicking me. And I was trying to pace myself so I wouldn't get out of gas. So he beat me, but
Jerry, let's take that as a lesson. Okay, now you're speaking to a young fighter. Okay,
yes,
so tell the young fighter about the lesson.
The lesson here is, once you have your eye set on a goal and a prize, it's up to you to be disciplined, to use your discipline, to use your courage, and use your compassion on yourself.
Right.
Don't abuse your body, mind, and spirit, and sit there and do it. Otherwise, you will pay the consequences, and it is not worth the risk.
Wow.
But oh my God, it's funny because I see guys out, and I see them out, and I'm like, oh, so you're a fighter, and you know they'll be drinking and stuff. I'm like, oh,
right.
Okay. I said, when's your next fight? He goes, I got a fight in a couple of weeks. I'm like, you're out drinking. I said,
right.
Yeah. He says, oh man, oh shit, I'll burn this shit off. I'm young, and I'm
right.
Like, oh man, I said, but what about not only your body but your brain? Yeah. So anyway, be disciplined, be diligent, man. Yes.
Right.
Listen to that gut within you that is going to say, be disciplined, man. Let's stay on the track. Let's stay on the track. And you know what? I say this to the people the kids I speak with: show me your crowd, and I will show you your future.
Wow.
Yes, and you start, man, you start hanging, and that was yeah, that was a downfall in certain times of my life, and I started hanging, and yeah, so I came back from Daytona Beach, man, and I fought him, and man, I was just, but
So,
you know what,
so,
it was
so,
a lesson.
Dad, you believe in that saying that you learn more from losing than you do from winning?
Yes, you learn a lot more from losing than winning.
Right.
Yes, learn
Right.
from your mistakes, big time, man.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, so you had a great career. You had
yeah.
only a couple losses in your career. What was it about the sport or whatever that made you decide to move on to something else? Did the sport itself just dry up, or wasn't enough fights, wasn't enough money you had to eat?
Okay,
What was it?
okay, okay. One more thing, but I went back and fought Gary Garner again, and I beat him. So there.
Okay. Let's get that in, right?
Okay, and let's talk about the second loss, because if the guy's watching, I want to give him a plug. I lost to Jerry Blank. I lost to Jerry Blank by one
Oh,
point.
yeah.
By 1 point, but I knocked him down twice in the fight. But I lost by 1 point. I don't know how that happened, but that's what happened.
Well, did they call it a knockdown?
Yes, they called once a knockdown. Yes, yeah,
But they
and
called one of them a knockdown.
one of them knocked down. Yeah,
But the
and
other,
yeah,
the other one they didn't.
no, other one they didn't. Yeah, they said it was a
Okay.
slip, but but anyway, and yeah, so
Hey.
Bill Clark's the one who gave him that. Thank you, Bill. I love you, Bill Clark.
Yeah, you can put him on blast right now. Okay, so I want to have another interaction with our guest again, Steve Goss. See, Steve Goss is saying, "Hey, not trying to take over, Johnny. Hey, Steve, you're not. We'd love to have you on, man." I said one more question. If I could, say, what is that? Could Jerry fought BJ Lavota?
BJ Lavota,
Up
yes.
here in Rockford, Illinois.
Illinois.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about Rockford, Illinois. I got knocked out by Ricky Hayes in Rockford, Illinois. But anyway, what do you recall about that experience?
BJ Lavota was a tough kid, man.
Right.
I mean, I broke his nose, and I mean, I won the fight, and it's also in my clips that I show the kids and stuff. BJ Lavota, I give much respect for him. He was a tough fighter. He was,
Right.
he was short and stocky, man, but he was a tough fighter. And that was I mean, yeah, it was, sorry, break your nose, brother. I love you now. but yeah, but I give the utmost respect. BJ Lavota was a freaking tough fighter.
Right,
and
right.
yeah, he gave me all I can handle, man. He gave me all I can handle.
So if we move right along, though, tell me about the life after the fight career. Meaning that I want to know what made you transition. What made you leave the fight game?
Interesting. I defended my title for 4 years, and I, when I said, "Show me your crowd, and I'll show you your future," well, I got hooked up with some shady, bad people. There wasn't, and I'm being honest here, there wasn't a lot of money in kickboxing. I needed money, so I started doing some other work. I became a debt collector and a bodyguard for a drug dealer and a bookie.
Wow. You know what's so interesting? So you never served any time or anything?
No, thank God I didn't. And I got out of that real quick, and I said, "What the hell am I doing?"
Right.
But I started hanging with the bad crowd. I moved in with rock and roll legend Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple and Black Sabbath. We were I became his bodyguard and his personal trainer. We were partying 7 days a week, and eventually it came to a head, and I had a drug overdose. And it was after the drug overdose, I hitchhiked to Florida because my girlfriend had taken my dog to Florida. I hitchhiked to Florida, and at 3:00 in the morning, I don't know if you know of Alligator Alley. Alligator Alley. Yeah, it's a dangerous place. 3:00 in the morning, I'm hitchhiking. Well, I'm not hitching because there's no cars around. Right. I'm walking at 3:00 in the morning on Alligator Alley. Woods on both sides, stretches of empty highway, man, a full moon, and I'm praying to God, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with my life. I was in a dark place. I was praying, and I had an epiphany, man. I had an epiphany of knowing what to do, and the epiphany was to get out of Dodge, get away from, leave that world, and go and find that 14-year-old boy, that 14, 15-year-old boy that discovered himself, because I was lost. Man, I was lost. And a lot of people don't know this about me, but I was out there. And then I sold everything I owned. I moved to Hollywood, California, and got into the movie business. And
well, before we go there, Jerry, I want to ask, what did you learn about yourself after you stopped fighting that you wish you would have known while you were fighting?
To stay connected with myself, to stay, it was, I was torn in so many different directions. It was to the point where I wasn't trusting anyone. I didn't, I kept fighting the temptations for years, fighting the temptations to do this, to go down this path, to go down this, I needed to stay at this path. And then it got to the point where I wasn't trusting anybody. And I just wish I would have stayed connected to myself. And I got away from who I was. I stopped working on myself, and it was like, oh, great, the world championship, everything was great. And, it was, I got lost. I just wish I would have stayed connected with myself. But saying that, if I didn't experience what I did, I just recently told my mom a couple of years ago about all the, stuff I went through.
Right.
And she was crying and I was crying, and she's like, why did you never explain this to me? And I said, Mom, I said, because I didn't want to, I didn't want you to react. But I just wish I would have stayed connected with myself. But once I moved to California and I got away from the crowd, I got away from that atmosphere.
Right. But I want to interject something, Jerry.
Yeah.
Just a thought, because I was a fighter.
Yep.
What are the chances when you stop fighting?
Yeah.
Fighting is such a high.
Yes.
Such a rush.
Yeah.
Do you think that you could have possibly been going through withdrawals?
Withdrawals from?
Yeah, from fighting. In the ring, that high, the fact that people call your name and people,
possibly because I was fighting less. I wasn't fighting as much as I was before. That's a possibility, but it's you just gotta you gotta be careful who you surround yourself with, because your crowd, man, who you surround yourself with will determine where you're going to go in life. And I was, like I said, I was dealing with a lot of anger issues. I was an angry guy, man.
Right.
Yeah. So I was, man, and and that was my way to let loose. If I wasn't training for a fight, I'm like, okay, let's get out. Let's go out. Let's do something. Let's party.
So Jerry, Jerry, if I were to be honest with you, and I am,
thank you.
When I met you,
you
were pretty like an asshole.
Was I?
Yeah, you were kind of stuck up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And you know what?
Jerry,
but thank you for being honest. And,
Jerry, but it's okay. But because sometimes people don't understand, and Mike Tyson had this problem.
Yeah.
Of how to regulate the anger, right?
Yep.
And I was always a kind of nice kind of guy.
Yes.
So I had to learn on the other side of that. Yes, I had to learn how to get mad in there and how to take somebody out. And I only learned that towards the end of my career, where I had that, that killer instinct, if you will.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what? Yeah.
But I knew how to turn it on and turn it off.
Yeah. I think for me, what it was, to be honest, it was a lot of immaturity.
Yeah.
It was a lot of immaturity. And, I let my ego, I mean, come on, man, you're talking to a kid that was like beat up and ridiculed, and I didn't have any friends. And next thing you know, I decided to go to Atlanta, Georgia. And next thing you know, everybody's like, hey, Golden Boy. Right. And I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah. Anything you need, anything you want, brother. Yes. My man, Jim Abernathy, gets me a brand new car when I sign with him. I'm like, I'm trying to take all this in, and obviously I didn't. At times I didn't handle it too well.
Right.
But then again, this experience helps me when I work with kids going through the same thing that I did. Because otherwise, how would I? You got people that go in and they talk to kids and they've had a coach, everything's great in their life,
right?
And then they talk to troubled kids, at-risk kids. It's like, really, dude?
Right.
You're talking about drugs and you're talking about violence. Have you ever been in a fight?
Right. Well, you talk about the transition that you made to Los Angeles, California. Tell us a little bit about that transition.
Okay. When I realized what the epiphany was to get out of Dodge, I sold everything I owned and moved to Hollywood, California to pursue my career being in movies. And when I got out there, it was weird. I got away from the drugs and all the stuff. And I go out there the first day, me and my buddy, we go in with these friends we know. And what do? They have a party and pull out all drugs. And I'm going, what?
Wow.
It's like it followed me.
Right.
So the next day, I opened the Yellow Pages up, and I'm like, I got to get a job first of all. So I look through the Yellow Pages, and I see one of Chuck Norris's studios.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'll get back into teaching until I get an agent, until I get into an acting class, because I didn't know acting, man.
Sure.
Yeah. So I start training. I go in and I teach a class for one of Chuck Norris's studios. They watch me teach, and they're like, "You're hired." And next thing you know,
Wow.
there was a manager there, and he goes, "I understand you moved here to be an actor." I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Looking for a manager or an agent?" And he goes, "Well, I'm a manager and agent looking for an actor." He said,
Really?
he signed with me, and I started taking acting classes. And my first 2 auditions ever, I booked 2 lead roles, and I booked both jobs. And the first one was with Jet Li in the movie The Masters, and the second one was with Breathing Fire with Bolo Young. And then I started booking. It was weird. I was doing 2 to 3 movies every year.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I did, and then that sidekick, man. I said, okay, I need to get more clients, need to make more money so I can get my own apartment. And I started putting I put that flyer up with that sidekick on a by the grocery store.
Right.
And a casting director called me up and said, we want to audition you for a movie. And next thing you know, I started working a lot with Roger Corman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, listen. Okay, so you know me, right? Like I said, Johnny Davis Live, real questions, real solutions. Okay, so here we go. So when I was fighting, when I first stopped fighting, I got a call about getting into being in the movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles. Whoa, okay.
Because it was over in Wilmington at the time. I was in South Carolina, right? But I just moved to California. Okay, now here's the point to this.
Okay.
But there was a weight game in fighting that I hated. In other words, you'd be waiting for a fight, the fight fall through, then you got to wait till the next fight, and that was agonizing.
Yeah.
So what I saw in the movie industry was that it was very similar to the fight game. What I want to ask you, Jerry, is that did you have to deal with that same hurry up and wait game in acting?
Yes. The acting world is tougher than the fight world. It's tougher than the fight world because you have to, it's more of an emotional strain as opposed to a physical strain on your body. It's an emotional, mental strain because you got to take rejection. You can't sit around and wait for your agent. You've got to go out and you've got to keep working on your craft. But it's similar to martial arts in that way, but mentally it is more of a strain mentally. It's crazy.
And the money is funny too, I would imagine.
The money's man. The money's up in the air. And in the beginning, you got to do films where you're not making a lot of money.
Right.
But then when you get, you get a few under your belt, then you start making good money.
Right.
And it's what it's like any business in the world. It's like anything you do. What you put in, you get back.
Right.
But you have to, people that are going into the acting game, man, it is a lot of waiting, but if you're sitting on your butt and you're waiting for your agent to call you, so you got to go out and you got to network and you got to make things happen. Right. And you've got to have all kinds of things. That's why, I'm writing scripts now. I'm producing films now.
Whoa.
I'm in the process of producing 2 films right now.
Okay.
And it's you got to just dive into it all the way. That's what it is.
Well, the next level of that, I saw that you got a little bit into the motivational speaking, right? Which is a very, very big thing. But I want to know, why do you feel like it was important for you to tell people about your experience?
When I was 15 years old, I did a martial arts tournament and a martial arts seminar. When I do a seminar, it's not just martial arts because that's, it's punching and kicking that's part of it.
Right.
But it's a lot about the motivation. It's a lot about the mental aspects. It's a lot about you being, like we talked about, being like as Bruce Lee, expressing yourself.
Right.
And when I did a seminar, it was a demonstration in front of the Highlands High School in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, 15 years old. I had kids my age coming up to me going, man, that was really inspiring. That was really cool. You really motivated me. Something clicked to me and I went, I want to share I want to share martial arts with the world. And then as I went on, I started donating my time and volunteering my work with a lot of charity organizations. And I was sharing my story, and in the story of the drugs and the violence and the self-abuse and stuff that I went through, that added on to it, and it just took off. And now it's, I believe that we all have stories, and I believe that we're all put on this earth to do uh, three things: to learn, to give, and to grow. Those three things.
Jay, let me ask you a question. I want to interject. You know me, man. I'm going to interject, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
when you were doing the motivational speaking,
Yep.
a lot of times when I tell people things, I'm kind of talking to myself.
Yes. Yep.
So,
Bingo.
so,
Yeah.
was a part of your desire after you felt that fire of speaking to people and getting that feedback, but at the same time, you're hearing yourself.
Yeah.
Did that make you try to live better as well?
Yes. Yes, it did. Yes. Yes. The motivational speaking really kicked off. I mean, I did it off and on in Atlanta. Never didn't do it once in Kentucky. That's at Highlands High School. Did a little bit in Atlanta, just a couple of organizations. But when I went to California and got my act together, bang! That's when I started. I started looking. I started searching for the organizations that might be able to be able to be helped. The kids from my story. Everyone's got a story,
Right.
And I believe everyone finds some way to share something. Instead of criticizing everyone, let's start helping everyone.
Yeah, I'm a little curious about this quote that you put on your Facebook page the other day. And I do follow, what people put on their Facebook pages, whether it's good or bad. But it was a Maya Angelou quote, and I'll read it here. It says, develop enough confidence to stand up for yourself and then somebody else.
Yeah.
What does that statement mean to you, Jerry?
It means to stand up for stand up for injustice for yourself and for anyone else. When I go and talk to the kids, if I go and talk to the kids, I feel that sharing my story and giving them some tips on how they can overcome adversity, develop courage, build their resilience, strengthen their compassion. I feel that I'm standing up for them to help them to grow, to become a better person. And that quote, when I saw that, I went, man, it spoke to me.
Right.
Because if I see an injustice, I will stand up for that injustice. If it's like with animals. It's, I'm vegan and I'm plant-based, and to each his own, and I'm all into animals. And it's, if I were to see someone on the bus, which I see in Vancouver quite a bit, someone being rude to someone, I'm like, come on, man.
Right. Well,
and they're like,
we talked about when we, a little bit about the compassion thing, and I
compassion, man.
Yeah, and I think you have a lot of that, and I definitely want to get into that as well. But I want to stick on that bully part for just a moment before I go there, and because there are a lot of characteristics of a bully.
Yes.
Right. What are some that come to your mind?
Well, what makes a person bully? I mean, what makes a person bully? Maybe they're stressed out, and there's no reason. And I don't like them. I don't like calling people bullies. I like saying they're human beings that exhibit bullying behavior. And they weren't born a bully. They weren't born mean. They weren't born rude. And that's bullies. People that exhibit bullying behavior are rude. They're mean. They're assholes. They belittle people. They try to make themselves. But why do they bully? Maybe because they're stressed out. Okay, we don't know. Maybe because they're bullied at home. Maybe because they're insecure, they feel bad about themselves, so they're trying to make other people feel bad. Maybe they want attention.
Right.
This is their way of getting it. Or maybe they're jealous of someone.
Right.
And I'm like, when I talk to these kids and stuff, and I'm like, man, believe me when I say this, and this goes for everyone. What comes around goes around, and I truly believe in karma.
Right.
And we aren't born mean. We aren't born rude. We're not born jerks. We learned it. And because when we're born, man, if you think about it, when we're born, man, we're born with no doubt, no fear, no anger, no insecurity, no negativity. We learn this crap from our parents, from our family, from our friends, from our environment. So we learned it, and then it's like we're like a statue underneath a masterpiece, and then we've been bombarded with all this garbage that's preventing us from becoming our masterpiece.
Yes.
It's just when I see people that are, oh, I mean, I mean, I don't want to bring up politics, but man, you got the most powerful man in the world who bullies on national TV, and it's not right.
Right.
And
Right.
and when you insult other people, you're bullying.
Right.
If you don't like someone, don't insult them.
Right.
Keep it you got to work on that, man.
Right. Well, I know that'll get you in a whole lot. Hey, I'm sure you have a lot of friends now.
I know, sorry.
But listen, and you talk about the political climate, and again, my show, we talk about anything and everything. We're not going to go so far into that, but I think that in general, though, we do have a political climate right now.
Yeah.
That I see not only bullying, but I see a lot of hatred and anger, especially in social media.
I know.
Maybe you can connect the dots, perhaps even with the bullying, perhaps with the teen suicide, perhaps with the way people are feeling today. I don't know, but there's a lot going on. How do you think that we as a people can maybe kind of close some of the gaps that we have, especially today in this very difficult political climate?
Yeah, you know what? I think and I'm no angel. And there's a couple times I've posted some posts that were insulting a certain individual, and I'll post it, and I'm going, what am I doing?
Right.
No. So I take it down, and I'll take it down, and I'm going, okay. And I believe that we need to think. Everyone needs to think of themselves as a role model. We're all role models for someone else, and if we exhibit insults and stuff and get online and calling people names and stuff, man, it's like grow up, be a role model. Okay, great. You don't like that person, okay, but do you have to inflict, you have to call them names? Do you have to? It's karma, baby. Karma's going to come around. We need to grow some compassion. We need to build our compassion, and I believe that we build our compassion by working on ourselves. You'd be surprised. I asked how many people I said, "Do you ever meditate?" They're like, "No."
Right.
Do you ever journal? You write in a journal. You write your thoughts down. They're like, "No." Do you say affirmations? I mean, and it's to each his own. Things work for certain people, but I know what's worked for me. And when I've worked on myself, and I got when I went to California, man, I got back to those basics of the martial arts: the courtesy, the integrity, the perseverance, the self-control, the indomitable spirit, the tenets of Taekwondo. I will strive to build a more peaceful world.
Right.
I started working on myself, and that's, man, we've all got access to anything we want to learn, anything that will help us to grow. I've taken a course on Jim Quick training, who's the brain memory guy. This is our greatest, most important asset.
Right.
We don't keep this sucker sharp. We don't keep this thing healthy. We're doomed.
Right.
There's a monk called, his name's Don DePani. I'm taking a course now on unwavering focus on the mind and learning how the mind works. It's fascinating. So the more that we keep working on ourselves, that's
so perhaps. So are you saying that, number one, maybe perhaps we need to pull ourselves a little bit away from the social media, right? For one thing, and focus on some of those other things that help us grow.
Yeah, what I'm sure your dad or your mom or somebody said, if you ain't got nothing to say, don't say it.
Right.
If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say it.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But working on yourself and having compassion for yourself, it starts loving yourself is number one. And once you start having because when you especially in cyberbullying, oh my God, whether you know them or not, and it's bad. It's just, it looks immature. It's crazy, man.
I'll tell you, with me, Jerry, you can watch my post. You can go back from almost the beginning. You will never see a negative post on Johnny Davis, Facebook or timeline or anything. I just don't do it. And I have people obviously in my position, whatever that position might be. I am, people attack me. People talk junk about my organization and all that. You know what? I just do this.
There you go, man.
And you know what? One of my sayings is forward march.
Yep.
I say that all the time and I'm saying that because even though some of those things, you feel it, you feel some type of way. And sometimes I'm right on the keyboard getting ready to respond. And I say, no, you know what? it's not worth it. Fort
There you
March.
go,
Fort
man.
March. And I just go ahead and move forward and all that because it definitely can have effect. But however, now we do have people, like I said, with suicide. Suicide is a big issue today
Yeah.
with a lot of our, teens. And again, it could be from social media. It can be from all of those things. What would you say to a person that's in this society today, having a tough time, being beat up, being bullied, or whatever the case might be, and want to give up? In other words, what would you say today, the adult Jerry? What
Yeah.
would you say to the teenager Jerry that was being bullied back in today? Back in the
I
day?
would I would say that the person, you're amazing, you're loved. Uh, get to know who you are. Get to know who you are. Find out who you are. Discover yourself.
Mhm.
Because when you really work on yourself, and that's where the journaling comes in. And I just facilitated a camp, a 5-day camp in Vancouver, British Columbia. And these kids had been in rehab. These were from 15 to 18-year-olds. They've been in rehab. They contemplated suicide. Some of them has actually tried suicide.
Right.
And I took them through all this stuff, and we meditated, we visualized, we journaled, we talked about things. If someone's contemplating suicide, there's a suicide hotline. Talking to someone, sharing your thoughts, sharing what's going on. That's when when you don't have someone to talk to, journal, talk to yourself. Just
Right.
talk to yourself.
Right.
Get to know who you are. Get to start discovering who you are. Discovering the gifts that you have. We're all born with so many talented gifts. My God, we go to our grave with just a smidget of discovering our gifts.
Right.
It's getting to know you. I believe it's getting to know yourself, and that's, you got to get to know who you are. And it's surrounding yourself with the right amount of people. It's your environment. There's a lot of aspects to it,
Right.
but
Right.
I believe on getting to know yourself and getting to know you and having compassion for yourself. But it
Right.
takes time and it takes effort. And
Right.
that's what I just recently started doing one-on-one online mentoring with kids,
Mm.
which is phenomenal, which is because, with a laptop, you can go anywhere and
Yes.
help
Yes.
kids. So, which is
Right.
really cool. But that's what I talk to them about is, let's get, let's journal, let's meditate, let's visualize,
Right.
let's see what we want. Let's see what the possibilities are.
Right.
And
Right.
that's, it's all, life is about living your life to the fullest, and
Right.
I posted a post on Facebook one time, man, that was stop criticizing your kids, because when you criticize them, they don't stop loving you. They stop loving themselves. And,
Ah.
and, man, it's like, I'll go out and I'll be talking to a child. And as I'm talking to a child, the mother or the father will answer me. And I said, excuse me. I'm not talking to you.
Right.
I'm talking to your child. I'm talking to you.
Right.
It's like, and I
Right.
have to sometimes go,
Right.
stop. I'm not talking to you. Let them answer. I'm
Right.
talking to you.
Right. Because
Yeah.
you're taking their confidence. You're not giving them the
Yes.
opportunity to
Yes.
grow.
And yes.
Right.
And it's a lot to do with the parents and stuff. They got to, man, it's like, whoa, it's love. It's like, you look great today, man. I love those shoes, dude. Freaking shoes were rocking. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You need help with your homework, man. You need help. Yeah. You got to contribute. You got to give back, and it's not all about me, 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 me. And that's what things about society is. It's me, me, me. Oh
Right. Well,
yeah.
we talk about a lot of things in society, and you alluded to some things a little bit earlier. But
Yeah.
one of the other big things that I see that's going on in society right now is fear. Right.
Yes.
Fear is something that I have the saying that fear can move you. Fear can stop you if you let it, or
Yep.
fear can move you. So
Yep.
let it. Right.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
so fear can operate in different things. But in this society today, there's a lot of things that are happening in the way people feel about each other because of fear.
Fear.
What would be your suggestion of how we can maybe overcome some of these fears when we look at from a social perspective?
So it's either what you said, and I'll reword it differently.
Yeah.
But it's either you do one of two things: you forget FEAR, forget everything and run,
Ah.
or FEAR, or face everything and rise.
Right.
Facing your fear, you got to get out of your comfort zone.
Right.
You have to get out of your comfort zone. And this is when I started journaling. This is really cool. When I started facing, doing things that was kind of, and I'm like, I'm getting nervous, feeling, and I would go to my journal and I'd pop open day one, which is a great journal. It's on the Mac. It's called Day One Journal.
Right.
I'd pop it in and I said, okay, that was weird. I just got a little, and I'd write it down.
Right.
And when you start communicating, you start facing your fears and start doing what is fearful. And you're like, I asked people, I said, what's your biggest fear? Like, oh, doing this. And I said, well, then you know what? You know how to get over that. If you do that. They're like, no, I can't. And I said, well, let's have an impeccable word.
Right.
There's a book out. I want to give a plug for this book by Don Miguel Ruiz called The Four Agreements. Major 4 agreements, and the 4 agreements will help you to get over these fears. 4 agreements. Don't assume anything. Don't assume anything. You don't have a crystal ball with anyone. With the man up, whatever's upstairs, you don't have the crystal ball with them. Don't assume anything. Don't take it personal. It's not about you. Do your best. Just do your best. That's all you can do is do your best and have an impeccable word. Because when I've asked people about fear, I've talked to the kids about fear and stuff. They're like, well, I can't do this. And I said, okay, let's back up there. That can't eliminate that from your vocabulary.
Right.
I said, maybe you're unable to do that right now, but with a little work, you can do it. And that's with anyone. It's,
Well, you know what I'm hearing, Jerry, because
Yes.
I'm a guy, I believe in people getting along.
Yeah.
What you just said, I think, is so important and vital that people should really hear.
Yeah.
That xenophobia, the fear of foreigners, or the fact that you are fearful of certain groups of people, for example. Most of those people are fearful of each other because they don't know each other. They've not taken the time to learn anything about that particular person, their culture, their environment, or anything, and that kind of exacerbates the fear.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I'll use a metaphor here. There's a statue of David. The statue of David was created by Michelangelo.
Right.
Statue of David. It's in Florence, Italy. Statue of David. Michelangelo found this huge hunk of marble. It was garbage. It was somebody had discarded it into the quarries. He had it shipped back to a studio. He saw underneath it this masterpiece. He started chipping it away. What we've done is we've let all this garbage from our peers, from everyone around us, to latch onto us, and it's just garbage. In order to get rid of this garbage, these fears and negativity and anger, we just got to start working on ourselves.
Right.
And we've got to do a little bit every single day, because if we don't, it's going to build up and it's going to build up. And I saw a quote by Bruce Lee. Somebody posted it a couple days ago or something, that it was an interview or something, that they were asking Bruce about, do you consider yourself a Chinese or did blah? And he goes, I consider myself a human being.
Right.
I look at people as human beings. I don't look at anybody as black, yellow, Asian or Indian, or I look at everyone as a human being. And you've got to look, but that comes from within. And racism, you were born a racist. You learn this shit, You learn it from the world around you. And if you keep being a racist, you need to get away from whoever you're hanging out with and start working on yourself and get rid of it. Because we're all just human beings.
Right.
We're red and blood. We're all the same color inside, man.
Right. Well, let me ask you a question. A lot of people have failures in their lives. You've had some failures in your lives based on some
more failures than successes.
I've certainly had failures in my life. Sometimes, we feel like failing is like an inside job, but maybe it's not. What are your thoughts on failing and then overcoming that failure?
Resilience, man. Resilience. And I might sound like a broken record, but the way that we meditation, do people meditate? Most of the population doesn't meditate. Meditation? Whoa. When I moved to California, man, I was still angry from the fight days. I was still angry. Once I started meditating, the anger went away.
Right.
I was like, calm, man. So once again, you got to go inside, and when and I would beat myself up every time I failed at something, but now I go, okay, what can I learn from this? And if I keep doing the same thing, then I'll beat myself up a little more. Okay, well, what am I doing that's letting this to continue to happen?
Well, they say that's the definition of stupidity, right?
Doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like, oh man, my head's from banging it against the wall. But it's working on yourself. For me, meditation, visualization, affirmations, journaling, working on projects, diving in, finding out, learning something new. It's all those things, because, and then those things add to loving yourself and going, I feel good about myself, man.
Right.
And then you're like, you know what? I love you, brother. I love you,
Right.
man. My wife's like, man, you, and now it's funny because my wife is like, you make friends with everybody. I mean,
Right.
we moved to Vancouver, man, and I'm like, I know the whole neighborhood.
Right.
And I'm,
Right.
what's up, brother? How you doing, man? Enjoy your day. Make good choices. You've got to, what you put out, you get back,
Jerry,
and it
I
starts
want to
from
ask you,
within.
man, as we
Yes, sir.
start to wind down here a little bit,
Yep.
what is your motivation for trying to be such a good person today?
I enjoy helping the underdog, and I look at young people as the underdog, and I look at animals as the underdog. And, I mean, the more I get to love myself more and the more I discover who I am, the more I'm able to give more love. If
Hmm.
you don't have any love inside, then you're not going to be able to share the love outside, and it all starts within. I, it's, I don't know. I love helping people. I love when people are like, it's like these, the shows American Idol, America's Got Talent. Oh my God. My wife will watch me, she'll see me watch them, and she's like, you're crying again. I get emotional, man, when I see people happy. I get emotional when I see people achieving their dreams. And I was not always like that,
Well, Jerry,
but,
well, let me interject there. What's making you
yeah,
so happy today?
because I'm with my family. I'm with my family, and I very rarely come back to Kentucky. I'm with my family, and that I'm consistent on doing what I need to do to keep myself in, mentally, physically, and spiritually. I'm not a religious guy, but I pray, to my higher power, and I'm a spiritual man. I am very spiritual. But I continue to try to, just be spiritual and continue to love myself and to share something every day and just to give back, pay it forward, a smile, walking down the street. I'll say silent prayers. I don't know how many silent prayers I give out a day, man. I'm like, God, please bless that man. Please
Right.
bless that woman. I don't know if
Right.
they're going through anything, but they look miserable. And, I don't know, but I just continue to try to put as much love as I can. But
Right.
I got to love myself. And I'm not an angel, man. And I
Right.
still beat myself up at times.
Sure.
But I catch myself and I'm going, okay, let's get it together, Trimble. Then I
Right.
go into my journaling and I talk to myself and I go, okay. And that helps me. Yeah.
Would you say that that new way of living, a new way of seeing things,
Yeah.
is a part of your purpose in life today, or do
It,
you have something else that drives you and that you might call your purpose?
my purpose is to empower people to be their best. My purpose in life is to empower young people to discover their gifts,
Mm.
learn to love themselves.
Good.
Discover your gifts. There's three things. Discover your gift. Loving yourself is number one. Get them to love themselves. Empower people to love themselves.
Hmm.
You know, discover your gifts that you've got, lots of them. Use those gifts. Get out of your comfort zone, discover your gifts, and use those gifts to go after your dreams. Those are the three things. And my goal and purpose in life is to empower young people to do that because they're the future. And it really upsets me when I see people sad, when I see people angry. I mean, on a bus in Vancouver, I'm like, man, I see somebody angry. I'm like, man,
Right.
I just feel for that person. I really feel for that person. Compassion. Compassion. That's what we need. This world needs more than anything on this planet. We need compassion.
Yes.
Compassion is what we need more than anything.
Right.
Compassion.
There's such a big need for that. What is the best advice you've ever gotten in your life?
Best advice I've ever gotten in my life. Uh, something my dad said. After being bullied and um, before I tried all the sports, I came home. I was crying after being bullied. My dad comes in the room and he's giving me tips of advice and it never made sense. But he said, sometimes you got to be scared in order to grow.
Ah.
And that's it. And I'm telling you, man, I started every sport. I quitted every sport from being bullied. And when I got into martial arts, man, I was terrified. But I heard that sometimes you got to be scared in order to grow. And I stuck with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's your best piece of advice. That sounds like a great piece of advice and everything. And I think I'll take that one myself. And my final question for you, Jerry, and I always like to ask, some different questions to different guests.
Yeah.
What is what I call my magic wand
Okay.
question,
Yeah.
right? My
Yeah.
magic wand question for you, Jerry, would be if you had a magic wand,
Yep.
what in this society and or person or with yourself that you
Yeah.
would change just like that?
Compassion. Boom. Everyone get along. Compassion. In the
Mm,
social media, compassion. Yeah. Everyone. I don't care if you don't like somebody, compassion. You don't have anything nice to say about somebody, don't say it. My grandmother said that.
mm,
You don't have anything nice to say about somebody, don't say it. You know what? I know people are trying to put their opinions and stuff on social media. That's a dangerous place, man. Especially when you're it's just it shows a sign of your character when you exhibit constant negative behavior.
right.
I don't care who you are, and that it's funny because a couple weeks ago, it was last week or something. I was like feeling a little negative, and my sister goes, what is coming out of your mouth? And I
Right.
went, and I looked at her and I went, oh, whoa, thank you. You're right. Whoa, shoot, yes.
Yes.
I caught myself. I'm human, man. I'm human.
Right.
But yeah, compassion. I'd be like, compassion for everyone.
Right.
And you know what? And I hope we got time to add this.
Sure.
There, like I said, I'm not a religious guy. I'm a spiritual guy. Matthew 7:7. Matthew 7:7. Ask and you will receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open. Ask and you will receive. Put it out there. Put it out there. Seek and you will find. Keep working on it. Find something you love to do. Get on YouTube, Google,
Right.
and then when you get it, start taking advantage. Get out of your comfort zone and
Awesome.
go after it.
Yeah.
And then when you're out there walking around the streets, give silent blessings to people. Put it out there. That's paying it forward. If you don't know how to pay it forward any other way, give somebody a silent blessing, a silent prayer. Say, bless that person. Bless that person. Put it out there.
Wow.
That energy. We need that energy. That's compassionate energy. We need that, man.
Yes.
And the more people that does it, oh God.
Right. Oh my God.
Yes. Passion.
Jerry Trimble, you
Johnny
are
Davis.
the man. Some great advice here today.
Thank
And
you, brother.
and I thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story, man. It was
Yeah,
very
thank you
good.
to thank you to the viewers. God bless you guys. And
Yes, yes.
I hope you guys got something out of it. I really do.
Yeah, well, I think
But
that
that
they're
what
going to definitely get something out of it. And, we will have this on our Facebook timeline as well as on YouTube that people will
good.
be able to go on and check out for years to come. All right.
Dig
So
it,
I
brother.
want to thank you again, brother, for being on the show. And I wish you all
Thank
the
you.
best. We'll talk to you soon. Shawadi
Thank you,
Cutser.
brother, man.
All right. Thank you
Godspeed,
very much.
brother.
Yes,
Love
sir.
you,
Bye-bye.
man. Okay, buddy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you saw it for yourself. The one and only Jerry, the golden boy, Trimble. We certainly appreciate him being on the show today. It was a lot of fun talking to him. A lot of great advice there. As always, guys, we want to thank you for watching Johnny Davis Live. You can check us out on our YouTube channel at Johnny Davis Live, on our Facebook page at Johnny Davis, or like us at AK Promotions. We also have a PKB _ kickboxing Instagram page now. You can also check that out. We're looking forward to everybody registering for the 4th annual IKF Spring Classic, which is going to be on March 20th and 21st in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at the Crown Reef Conference Center. Men, women, and children fight in full contact action for nice championship belts. We also will have a PKB and a PBSC tournament there as well. All of that information is on the website at akpromotions.org. Once again, guys, thanks so much for watching Johnny Davis Live. Real talk, real solutions. Always forward march. This is Johnny Davis, and I'm checking out. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.